All right, I am back. Trump really had one of his moments over the weekend again, didn't he? You know, I've been calling the son of a bitch a Nazi for so long, a Hitler sympathizer and so on and so forth, and I still occasionally get complaints about using Hitler as a template for this orange bastard, but no more. I mean, if you're thinking of emailing me about my use of Hitlerian images where it concerns the orange bastard, please don't bother. I mean, if you want to text me, go ahead. Or I mean, if you want to email me, go ahead. But any references to Hitler and any fascist right now that the orange bastard admires and models himself after is now valid, because he has, I like the phrase doubling down. This rotten son of a bitch has doubled down so many times on this Hitler rhetoric that all he needs right now is a black mustache and rearrange his hair some other way. But anyway, his rhetoric, you know, this garbage that comes out of his mouth, this Nazi bastard, hit a new low this weekend. And keep in mind, we're less than a month away from the Iowa caucuses. I am going to watch with deep intensity to see how the good white American citizens of Iowa, how they stack these miserable fuckers up, these 5 or 6 or 20 or 80 candidates to be president of the United States with Trump at the very top. I'll get that in a second. Anyway, the orange bastard once again, I think it was on Saturday, he started talking about migrants are poisoning the blood of the United States. And now the son of a bitch is quoting the fascist Vladimir Putin about his word, rottenness of American democracy. You do understand what's going on, right? Well, I know you do if you're listening to this podcast. But I wonder about the millions of people in this country who hear this stuff or hear about it. I wonder if there's anything in their hearts or souls, so to speak, that makes them give pause to what this miserable orange rat is saying, and makes them, okay, maybe they go to these Trump rallies for the thrill of it all. You know, they have no intention of voting for him. As a matter of fact, there were several reports that, regardless of what one of his Nazi advisors said about the number of in attending this rally on Saturday in New Hampshire, there were thousands of empty seats. There were also thousands of people there. The rottenness of American democracy. Hold that thought for a while. So he was at a hockey rink in New Hampshire on Saturday, and this bastard got comparisons to the language of Nazi Germany with his comments about migrants from mostly Africa, Asia, and South America poisoning the blood of our country. That's what he said. Now, you notice Africa, Asia, and South America, to this ignorant, savage fuck, all those people would have to be non-white. But he has no idea. If you asked Trump to name 5 countries in Africa, he would look at you like he didn't know what you were talking about. 5 countries? Well, the whole country's Africa. As far as South America, Trump has no idea that there are Poles and Germans and French and English and Russians who live in South America. Not only is he a Nazi son of a bitch, he's also an ignorant Nazi son of a bitch. Now, Joe Biden's campaign, whoever spoke for him, said that the language parrots Adolf Hitler. And experts pointed to passages in Hitler's manifesto, Mein Kampf, where that rotten little fucker called for racial purity and that the German blood was being poisoned by Jews. And Trump whether he is aware of this or not, and I doubt that he is. I think these speeches are being written for him by the little Nazi fucker who whispers into one ear, that would be Stephen Miller, and the little Nazi fuck, well, he's not so little, the dumpster dweller that whispers into his other ear, Steve Bannon. Between these two, they know they have an ignorant savage that they're trying to get reelected president to destroy our experiment in the Democratic Republic. They know that. So they put all this shit into his head on the teleprompter that he can say. And of course, the orange bastard gleefully says it, because when he says this stuff, people respond. The white people in these Nazi rallies respond positively. They cheer him on. They applaud for him. They have these shit-eating grins on their faces. When they're shouting, Donald or MAGA with the spittle flying out of their mouths. If you look at these fuckers and then compare them to the German-American Bund rallies in the 30s, whether it was in San Francisco or Detroit or New York or wherever those rallies were held. And I hate to say German-American because it's Nazi-American Bund back in the 30s. But the people attending these rallies, these mouth breathers who think they're in some hallowed ground because this rotten son of a bitch is saying this stuff, is just, well, that's what's so frightening about it. Now, just last month, he got criticism because he described his political rivals as vermin, which is another favorite Hitler word. And also the anti-Jew connotations that go with that, because it was so readily employed in Nazi rhetoric. It's the repetition of what he's saying over and over, after it was pointed out to him and the slime around him advising him that the roots of this rhetoric is fascism, Nazism. So it's more chilling to hear this ignorant bastards repeat it after one assumes he's been told. You realize you're speaking Nazi fascist rhetoric? Now, you don't need me to tell you that this orange bastard has a long history of using language that plays on racism and anti-Semitism and really excites his extreme Nazi wing of what used to be the Republican Party. It's just sexually arousing for these people to listen to this new Fuhrer, the Antichrist, stand there and use this kind of language. I'm sure there's a sexual connotation to it because of the way they get off. The listeners, the rally attendees, the Nuremberg-style nutfucks who are standing there hanging on every word that comes out of this bastard's mouth. And, of course, he recently repeated that he wants to be dictator for one day to build his border wall. Right. Okay. And to stop immigration. Right. That could be laughed at. It should be laughed at as a joke. Except he keeps saying it. Now, remember, with a psychopath, it's pretty much a standard rule. First, they may dream it. Then they think about it, then they talk about it, then they do it. Trump fits that pattern perfectly. And then on Sunday night, last night at a rally in Reno, Nevada, which, by the way, is the third Christian fascist nominating state, although they still call themselves Republicans. But at that rally, this orange bastard claimed, no evidence, of course. He doesn't need evidence, ever. But he claimed that migrants are largely coming from prisons and mental institutions. And he wondered if Chinese migrants crossing the border are meant to be part of an invading army. I mean, not only is this son of a bitch crazy, he is a full-blown psychopath with paranoid schizophrenia just dripping out of his mouth and his eyes and his ears. And the people who attend these rallies are being infected by the same virus. And at that rally in Reno last night, he promised to change the direction of the U.S. government to the sole purpose of removing migrants. How about your Nazi fucking parents, you crazy man, you? The Trumps who came here from Germany. No offense to Germans, but I mean, Trump keeps talking about immigrants, and one of the most poisonous offspring of immigrants ever to pollute this country, if you will, is him, Donald Trump. Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. You know, the Progressive Voices Network brings you commercial-free commentary from today's leading progressive radio hosts and pundits, like me, Mike Malloy, 24 hours a day. I'm not your typical old guy from the 80s or the 90s talk radio host, and Progressive Voices is not your typical talk radio network. It's a listener-supported nonprofit with no corporate control whatsoever over our broadcast. So hosts like me, Mike Malloy, are free to rant and scream and carry on about whatever we like. We're often controversial, but we're never boring. Weeknights, 9 p.m. in the East, 6 p.m. in the West on the Progressive Voices Network. Always progressive, always on. I'm Mike Malloy. Keep it lit.